No, I think he's a good opponent. I think he's dangerous because of that, coming off 2 losses. He doesn't want to be, he don't want to lose again. But unfortunately for him, he will lose because I will beat him on January 18. Nothing personal. I like the guy. I think he has a very good message. Every time that he goes over there on the octagon and he wins, he prays Jesus Christ. He is a good Christian. And I like his style. I think he's a good opponent. But unfortunately for him, I cannot afford to lose, and I'm not fucking losing. So I'm going to beat his ass on January 18th.
He is the man who will tell you where you should spend your money, how you should spend your money, and how you can make your money. And he also returns to UFC 311 in a fight against Beneil Dariush. It is always my great pleasure to speak to Renato Money Moicano. Renato, how are you?
Very good. How about you, my friend?
I am fantastic. I see Bitcoin is up today. You got to be a happy man today.
Yeah, 100%. Bitcoin is doing great, and I hope you start to learn and understand Bitcoin.
Yeah, I love it. I was checking right before we got on the air. I was like, wow, it's up like $400 today. So I was like, that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's a good sign. But I don't even care about the price. That's something to buy and hold, and eventually, my goal is never sell. To pass through my family, because one day we can use that. I think think that we don't even know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. So I just like to hold.
Yeah. What do you make? I'm curious because we always talk about financial stuff. Might as well ask you up front. What do you make of all these like people who try to sell these like meme coins and like they start all these things? We saw, like, I'm sure you're familiar, like Logan Paul got in a lot of trouble for that a couple years
Yeah.
ago. Like, what do you make of it? Because like I think that's what scares people about crypto. They see these kind of schemes happening and then they get scared away by the legitimate ones.
Yes, 100%. So that's why you have to understand first Bitcoin, and you have to understand about the blockchain, why it was created, why it's so important, and why this decentralization is so good. But at the same time, with this decentralization and no regulation, it makes easier for people to scan on other people like it is on the real world. So you have to be very aware, and people sometimes they use the popularity, to try to scan their fans, and it is what it is. I don't like it, but if you fall for that, probably is your fault.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I totally understand. So, Renato, we spoke after UFC Paris, of course, and we were talking about what was coming next. And I know at that point you mentioned Dan Hooker, and you said, hey, you would even still be down for the Paddy Pimblett fight just because it would be a big name. So, what was your reaction when you got the call and they said Beneil Dariush?
I say yes because in the end of the day, I knew the 155 division. I know like couple fights were being made, and I say, okay, I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait for Paddy. Dan Hooker doesn't want to fight, so let's go. I'm gonna fight whoever. I just want to stay active.
Yeah. What is like obviously Beneil was on an incredible run there for a while. It looked like he was really closing in on title contention. Then of course he had the loss to Charles. He had the loss to Armen. Now neither of those are bad losses. Obviously Armen's fighting for the title and Charles is, Charles Oliveira is incredible. But was there any slight disappointment only because he's off a couple losses, or do you still see him as a very worthy opponent?
No, I think he's a good opponent. I think he's dangerous because of that. Coming off 2 losses, he doesn't want to be, he don't want to lose again. But unfortunately for him, he will lose because I will beat him on January 18. Nothing personal. I like the guy. I think he has a very good message. Every time that he goes over there on the octagon and he wins, he prays Jesus Christ. He is a good Christian, and I like his style. I think he's a good opponent, but unfortunately for him, I cannot afford to lose, and I'm not fucking losing. So I'm going to beat his ass on January 18th.
I saw he recently said like he thinks that you think he's past his prime. Now I don't get that sense from you that you think he's past his prime though.
I don't care about what he thinks. I don't care about what he thinks and what he says. I'm going to beat his ass on his prime or not on his prime. I don't fucking care. I couldn't care less about opponent. I don't care about my opponents anymore. Back in the day, I used to be too worried. What he going to do? What if? Man, the reason is simple. I cannot fucking lose. Doesn't matter. You throw Islam you throw everybody at me, I will beat these guys because I cannot afford to lose. Simple as that.
Yeah, I love that attitude because I remember when we spoke before Paris, you had said, like, listen, openly said, like, I think, this is a guy the UFC wants to push. There's a reason why he's in the main event, and obviously gave a little extra motivation, and you went out there and beat him very dominantly. And I know, like, the Dan Hooker fight was interesting. The Paddy Pimblett fight, there's been a lot of back and forth. You're not going to get that. Beneil's a nice guy. Like, he's not going to say a bad word about you. But you seem to, like, it doesn't matter. The opponent, whether they give you, whether they try to trash talk you or they give you some animosity, it seems like you're staying, even across the board no matter who you're facing.
Yes, that doesn't matter. If the guy likes to trash talk, okay. If he doesn't, okay. It's just business for me. It's just business. And I'm being honest. I think I'm gonna run through him. I think I'm gonna beat his ass, and not because he passed his prime. It's just because that's what I'm training to do. That's what I have been training so long. I have been training MMA. I have been competing in UFC almost 10 years now, maybe more than 10 years now. So simple as that. I want to go over there, be him, and fight the next one.
And your last couple of fights, Renato, I mean, you've been on huge cards. Obviously, UFC 300, you got the main event Paris. Were you happy that this ended up being a pay-per-view, first ever card at that Intuit Dome in LA? I assume you're going to be, whatever. I assume you're going to be main card. I don't know what the actual bout order is going to be, but main card. So were you happy with that slot? Because I know how much you don't like the Apex, and they've kind of kept you out of there lately.
Yeah, I'm happy to be in the pay-per-view card again. It's so nice to be in a pay-per-view card because it's a big show. Everybody's over there is happy. Everybody wants to talk to you, to see you, and to support whoever. I'm gonna be in LA, so probably there is a lot of people cheering for him. He's from LA, but doesn't matter. It was like in Paris. I just like to perform at at like on the best platform possible. And I think pay-per-view fights, pay-per-view, especially the first pay-per-view of the year, I think that would bring a lot of eyeballs to the show. So I think that's good for my brand.
Now, we can't ignore the fact, Renato, that you're fighting on the same card as the lightweight title fight between Armen and Islam. And I know this happens a lot, at least I've seen it, where the UFC books a big lightweight fight on the same card as the lightweight title fight. Can I ask, have they asked you or approached you about, like maybe even serving as the backup? Like if you'd be willing to cut that extra pound? I know, listen, I'm sure you don't wish any ill will on Armen or anything like that, but like if they
I hope they broke a leg or something so I can jump in and fight for the title. There was no conversation about that, but once they offered me the card and I knew that the title fight would be on the line, who knows, right? Who knows? I was in the same card when Max Holloway could not make the weight and Aula Quinta uh, got his title shot. I don't think he would ever get a title shot if it was not like that. So for me, I will be ready. If somebody cannot make to the fight day, I can. So I will be over there for sure. But no talks. I'm not getting extra money. It's just good for me to fight in the same night as the title fight, because of course I will get a lot of exposure, and I can try to make my case to fight for a title.
Absolutely. I don't know. I don't know if he's still there. I know Armen had trained at American Top Team. I don't know if he's still down there. But obviously, and I know you're very familiar with Islam as well. What do you make of that matchup?
I think it's a very fun matchup. Two wrestlers. I think Armen Tsarukyan got way better on his feet. I was watching him today at the gym, and he seems like to be working on his striking. His striking is really good, and I think will be a very fun matchup. I think that's going to be a good matchup. I don't know who's winning though.
Yeah. Does it make it? I mean, like American Top Team's a very big place, and I know there's a lot of good lightweights. I mean, yourself, obviously. I know Dustin Poirier is kind of at the end of his career, but obviously he's there. Mateusz Gamrot is there. Like, is there like I'm sure you'll fight anybody, but does it make it tougher when like a guy who's in your same gym, like if Armen becomes champion, like that would potentially create you fighting Armen, inside of American Top Team. Like, you guys both train there.
Yes, yes, but he's fighting for the title. I'm still number 10. I still have I still have to climb. But to be honest, I'm not even care about that. Okay, if I fight for the belt eventually, that's going to be great. But my only focus now is to beat Dariush and keep climbing the rankings and keep getting more money and being happy doing what I love. That's the whole thing. That's why I don't care about who I am fighting. I'm just happy to be able to live off this. To fight and to try my best every day and to compete. I just like to compete, and it's going to be very nice to compete on January.
Yeah. Now I know. Listen, the rankings, they matter. They matter to a certain extent. But when you look at the lay of the land of lightweight, obviously I mentioned Dustin Poirier, legend, but we all know he's kind of the tail end of his career. I think he said he has one more fight. You look at Justin Gaethje, another guy I know you mentioned fighting before. Justin's coming off a loss right now. So I'm curious. I know your focus is only Beneil Dariush, but what does a win over Beneil Dariush do for you in this division?
I don't know too. I don't know, but at this point of my career, I just want to keep being active and keep winning. Like I say, I have 6 streak wins on the lightweight division. Everybody keeps bringing up the Rafael dos Anjos fight, but that was 160. That was not 155. So in the lightweight division, I have 6 wins and 5 finishes. So it's just a matter of keep winning, keeping beating up in people, and eventually I will fight for the title.
I know, like I'm a big believer in timing and opportunity are really the keys to getting a title shot because let's just say Islam beats Armen in the first round in a submission. Maybe he wants to fight again in 4 months, and you're available. You get the title shot. So, is there a world where you say like hey, you go out there and beat Beneil Dariush? Like there is a world where a title shot could be next, but it sounds like you're willing to continue working there if that's what it takes.
Yeah, I'm 35. I'm not waiting. I'm not being. I'm not gonna sit and wait for the right opponent and for the right situation. I will just keep making money. Fighting, making money, and it is what it is. But I depending on the performance, I could see I'm fighting for the belt next time. I have been a good employee. I have been working my ass off, trying my best, like fighting every fight they offer me, getting fights on 2-3 days notice, getting fights on a week notice, uh, fighting everybody that they throw at me. I never say no to opponents. And I know it's a business. I know UFC really don't care about that, but I like to think that that would worth something. So depending on how the fight goes, how Islam Makhachev and Tsarukyan goes, how the division goes, maybe next fight, maybe one more fight. I don't know.
Yeah, I know you listen, to be clear, you said it doesn't matter to you, you're happy to fight Beneil Dariush. Did you ever hear anything about the Hooker fight? Like, did that ever come up? Because I thought that seemed like the kind of the perfect fight with what he was going through, timing wise. Did you ever hear anything about that fight?
Not really. And I think they are trying to book him against somebody else. I think they have him booked. I don't know who. Or maybe I do, but I cannot say. But I think he has a fight booked.
Yeah. Now I know when you talked the other day, they asked you about Ilya Taporia coming up from featherweight and trying his hand at lightweight. I'm not going to make you answer that question again, but I was thinking, and again, just to be clear, I know your only focus is Beneil Dariush, January 18th, getting a win there. But I was looking at when they brought up the featherweight thing, I was like, you know what? If you're not going to get a title shot, if that doesn't happen next. What about you and Max Holloway for that BMF title? I was like, that seems like a Renato Moicano title, a BMF title.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to do that. Especially Max Holloway now. He say he's done at 145, and if he really wants uh, to be a 155er, I think that would be an awesome fight, especially because they're gonna put me on the 100%. If you beat Max Holloway, you fight for the title. So it's a fight that I will be willing to take 100%.
Now I know when you said about Ilya, obviously you said he's going to be a little smaller for this category. He's a lot shorter, which is, that's going to be a problem. Now, Max, like he came up and did really well. Obviously, had that knockout, historic knockout over Justin Gaethje. Do you think Max has a better chance at lightweight than say Ilya does, just because of his size? Like he's actually like he's tall enough and he packs on the weight. He looks more like a lightweight. Like, he looked like a lightweight against Justin Gaethje. Maybe not against Dustin. I don't think he looked quite like a lightweight. But do you think like Max has a better chance at lightweight than say Ilya does, just because he is bigger and taller?
I don't know, man. I think Ilia Topuria is very good. I think he is very good, and he's smaller, like I say, but if he can defend the takedowns, and I know he has a good ground game, so if he can defend the takedowns, I think he could knock a lot of people out on 155 because he fought at 155. He fought Jay Abbott. I fought Jay Abbott. I know Jay Abbott is very good and very tall, taller than me. And even though Jay Abbott kicked him on the head, almost knocked him out, he survived. He took that punch, he took that kick, and then he come back and destroyed Jay Abbott. So he is he has a very legitimately win over a huge 55. So I don't think the size and the frame will be a problem. I think Ilia Topuria, he probably he's the most entertaining UFC fighter right now. I think I like to watch him fight. He delivered awesome performances, and I think he would do good in 155.
Yeah, but I like I said, I'm pitching it. I think you and Holloway for that BMF title will be a lot of fun. Like I said, if you don't get the title fight next, I think getting the BMF title. I mean, come on now, who is a BMF? Renato Moicano is a BMF.
That's a good call out. Maybe you give me some ideas for for after the win.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Now I know we've talked about this so many times, Renato, and I almost don't feel like even ask you about this just because we've said it so many times. But obviously that Paddy Pimblett fight was lingering out there. Now let me just ask you this question: everything goes well. January 18th, you beat Beneil Dariush. You extend your win streak to 7 in a row at lightweight. At that point, do you feel like because technically rankings wise, Beneil I think is like one spot ahead of you. I don't know if that's really how people feel, but he's one spot ahead of you. Do you feel like at this point you've moved beyond that? Like it would almost be like, because I know when you said after beating Saint Denis, you said you would still fight him because it's a big name. But if you beat Beneil Dariush, it seems like Holloway, Gaethje, those would be the guys that would be next for you. Do you feel like at that point you've completely moved beyond a Paddy Pimblett at that point?
I don't know. Maybe. But I don't care too much. Like I say, I will do what UFC wants. If UFC wants me to break his face, it's going to be easy money. If not, I move on and fight somebody else on the top five or for the title. Like I say, title is good, but I want to build a brand. I want to build something bigger. A name, a persona, call whatever you call for after when and I'm done, so I can capitalize on that. And like you or not, him, Paddy has a huge audience. He has a big name, and that would be very good for my career. So I will never say no.
Yeah, but listen, I'll be honest. Holloway is still a bigger fight than Paddy Pimblett. So, like I said, I'm just giving you ideas. I think
Yeah, but a
Holloway's the
way
bigger.
harder fight. It's a way harder fight. I think even if he lost to Topuria, I think he's a harder fight than Paddy. Paddy, I think Paddy's fighting Benoit Saint-Denis. That's what I heard, and I think Benoit Saint-Denis will beat his ass, and then the hype is gone. That's what I feel. Look, Benoit Saint-Denis, he was people was hyping him a lot, and then 2 losses, he's kind of done. Even people are thinking he's going to lose to Paddy. I don't think, but it's just how MMA is. It's just how it works. So it's all about the hype. But uh, I don't know. I think Max Holloway is a tougher fight than Paddy Pimblett.
I remember you telling me, like, when you were fighting Benoit, you said like all the hype was on him. People were discounting you. You go out there and demolish him. You beat him very dominantly, and then suddenly he's not as good, which is
Yeah,
crazy. But I think he's right. And I know you gave Paddy credit after he beat Bobby Green. You gave him credit for getting that win. But you think Benoit, if that fight happens, you would favor Benoit.
I would. I think Paddy has a decent jiu-jitsu, but I think Benoit Saint-Denis will be too much for him, especially because he will be he will be stronger than Paddy. And he has heart, you know. He got beat really, really hard on the first round. And then on the second round, he was still over there, you know. He was not giving up on the fight. So, of course, the guy is a special force. He's very tough. He's very tough mentally, you know. And especially coming off two losses like that, a knockout and a TKO, and getting beat like that, I think he will push even harder on the training, and he will get like he will be ready for fight for the next one. And if it is Paddy, I think he beats Paddy.
Yeah. Now, Renato, for you personally, you're getting a good start to the year. You're getting a fight in January, which I know a lot of fighters like because that means you're going to be able to have a very busy 2025. Again, I know your only focus is January 18th, but kicking off the year in January, first pay-per-view of the year, can I ask, like, how busy do you want to be next year? Do you have, and like, because ideally, like by the end of the year, you should be fighting for the title. If I don't think I'm crazy thinking that, just depending on timing. Do you see that as like the realistic goal by the end of 2025 that you should be fighting for the title?
That's my plan. You know, that's my plan. I have been thinking about that a long time, and I think 2025 is going to be my prime year. And I'm hoping to go over there, beat Dariush, get another fight or fight for the title. If not, another fight and fight for the title. You know, I am 1-2 fights from the title, and I think 2024 I want to do 2 or 3 fights, and fight in January, that would be very good.
Yeah, and by the end of 2025, what a better way to do it? Start 2025 with a big fight, in 2025 as a champion, right?
100%. That's my whole plan, and we have a chance to accomplish that goal.
Yeah, well, I think this is, like I said, I think this is a great card and a great matchup, and I always love when they book a big lightweight fight on the lightweight title fight card. So I think there's going to be even more eyeballs on your fight because Islam and Armen are there. So I think it's perfect place there. Before I get you out of here, Nato, I joked at the beginning talking about Bitcoin. So how are you excited for the financial lay of the land in 2025? We have a new president coming in. I don't know. You tell me, where are we looking at financially in 2025?
I don't know, but I don't know if you see, but yesterday the inflation come up a little bit high yesterday, and next week probably they're going to cut the interest rates a little bit. I don't know how much, but they will cut 100%. Like the market is pricing 90% of chance of a cut on interest rates. So if you do the math and the interests are going down and the inflation is going up, I think that the stock markets, even though they are crazy right now, all-time highs, 30% just this year, like 26% just this year. I think eventually on the next 2-3 years, the inflation gonna hit, and prices of houses and Bitcoin and assets, they're going up. That's my prediction. But I'm not an expert. I just don't like to see cutting rates and inflation. You know, if you see inflation and cut rates, you see increases in price of assets, because that money gonna flow into the stock market. That the money that they are printing gonna flow to the stock market, to the house prices, and to Bitcoin, to crypto. So that's why I'm bullish about crypto 2025.
Yeah, I know you said like you are, when we talked about Bitcoin at the start, you said you don't want to think about Bitcoin, you just want to maintain it, hold it, pass it on to your kids one day. Do you hope more fighters would take, not necessarily take your advice? I know you said you're not an expert, but more fighters would be proactive about this stuff, because you obviously know, like, you can't fight forever, but obviously this is your career. Do you hope more fighters would get savvy, at least research and get in it? Because you've seen the stories, Hanato. Unfortunately, I've seen the stories, guys who can't retire because they just don't have the money. Would you hope that more fighters would get more fiscally responsible to plan ahead? Because I'm sure, like, even now you're in the middle of your career, but you said, like, you can't fight forever. You're preparing for the day when you retire down the road, right? Like, that's what you're doing. Do you wish more fighters would have that mentality of like preparing for the future financially?
More people in general. I think most of the people, they are just trying to live the moment. And now you have a good life, and now you are athlete, and now you're making money. But guess what? That gonna goes away. And like you say, I have heard about histories of people that they lose everything. They make good money when they're fighting, But that is something that everybody forgets, that you make good money now, but when we stop, you're not making any income. So how are you going to survive? Or you have a passive income, or you have to find another job. And most of the people are not prepared for that. And I'm not prepared yet too. So that's why I'm working. So that's why I'm getting money. I'm invest. I'm buying houses. I'm buying assets. And because eventually I want to to just live. I just want to live and enjoy my life, enjoy the fruits of my labor, of my hard work, and to do it 20 years from now. I have to start right now. I wish I have learned about this younger, but my parents didn't teach me that. My friends didn't teach me that. Nobody teach me that, and nobody gonna teach you. So you have to go over there and learn. But that is something that is good for you, is internet. You have YouTube, you have Google, you have Chat GPT. You don't know how much stuff you can learn with these tools. You can really understand the marketing and all that stuff. But the best prediction for a wealthy life is time preference. Is sacrifice the present to a better future, and that's what I'm doing. So if you don't understand the concepts that I'm saying, I advise you to read some books on the Austrian economic schools. The last book that I devised on my last fight, Democracy, the God That Failed Us, there is a whole chapter talking about that time preference, and how time preference is so important to build a good society. If the government doesn't give you the incentives uh, to save and to invest, that's not going to be a good society. But you have to start with your family. So understand what is time preference, and understand that you have to create the savings to invest. It's not the contrary. Right now in USA, people get debt, and people get rich with the debt. And I think that's a very bad thing, because it's systemic. To be rich in America nowadays, you have to have debt. You have to get loans and use these tax schemes that gonna make you rich, like all these big tech guys they do, like even Elon Musk, even Jeff Bezos. They use these routes, and they cut corners to become rich with debit. I don't like that. But like you say, that's not my point. My point, you have to understand the financial system, how and why the financial system is so corrupt, and you have to take advantage of that. But to me, the best way is this: understanding economics, understanding Bitcoin, and saving money now from the future. But not only saving, investing in stuff that's gonna grow over time.
Well, I tell you what, Renato, you're an incredible lightweight fighter, a future champion. But if you ever decide you want to start Money Moicano's financial planning service, I think you got a second career waiting for you.
No, I don't like that, because when you put your money in the hands of other people, that's when corruption starts. So that's why I don't like this financial stuff. If you put your money on somebody else's hand, they're gonna say they are growing your money, but they only taking the fees. They getting the fees, and your money they putting in something that is beneficial to them, to their companies. So that's why I don't recommend you to have a financial advisor. Be your own financial advisor.
See, I like that. I like that. Always learning from you, Renato. Always learning from you. Well, obviously, Renato, it's always a pleasure to catch up. Obviously, have a great training camp. Safe travels out to LA. Cannot wait to see you back in action in the new year. Have a great holiday with the family as well. I know you're in the middle of training, so you're going to be dealing with that in the holidays, but obviously have a great holiday as well. And thank you as always for taking some time for me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, my brother. See you next time.